I never imagined I'd become the target of our homeowners association president's fury, but that's exactly what happened. My name's Daniel, and I moved into Sycamore Heights 3 years ago, right after a car accident left me with partial mobility in my right leg. At first, the neighborhood seemed ideal. Quiet streets, manicured lawns, friendly neighbors, and most importantly, a driveway wide enough for my specialized van. It felt like a fresh start. But I had no idea that installing a simple disabled parking sign would ignite a full-blown war with Linda Pearson, the HOA president everyone affectionately called Karen behind her back. I went through all the proper channels. The city reviewed my paperwork and approved the installation of a designated disabled parking space right in front of my home. Workers showed up early on a Tuesday morning and installed the official blue and white sign. By the next afternoon, though, I noticed something strange. The sign was tilting slightly, almost like someone had tried to bend it. Curious, I checked my security cameras, and what I saw left me speechless. There was Linda, in her spotless white capri pants and pastel cardigan, marching right up to my brand-new sign with a pair of garden shears. She glanced around, then started cutting into the metal pole like it was a stray weed in her yard. I watched, stunned, as she gave it a few strong snips before walking away as if she'd just completed her morning chores. I confronted her through email that same evening. Her reply came fast and unapologetic. "That sign violates HOA aesthetic guidelines," she wrote. "The board never approved this eyesore. Remove it immediately or face daily fines of $50. I replied politely, explaining that I had full city approval and that federal disability laws, specifically the ADA, took precedence over HOA rules. Her response came within minutes. "Not in Sycamore Heights, it doesn't." The next morning, I stepped outside to find the sign completely severed, lying flat on the ground. My stomach dropped. I checked the security footage again, and there she was. Linda, at 5:30 a.m., was holding what looked like an electric saw. She even paused to stare directly into the camera afterward, wearing that smug little smile that made my blood boil. The nerve of this woman was unbelievable. I depended on that parking space. On bad pain days, even walking short distances could feel like knives in my leg. I knew arguing with her wouldn't get me anywhere, so I decided to change my approach. I drafted another email. "I noticed my sign has been damaged," I wrote. "I'm sure you wouldn't know anything about that. But I wanted to inform you that I'll be reinstalling it per city ordinance." I kept my tone calm and professional, attaching links to the relevant disability regulations. Her reply came within minutes. "Any new installations require written HOA approval. Your application is denied in advance." What Linda didn't know, however, was that I wasn't just some pushover homeowner. I'm an attorney, one who specializes in property law. While I typically handle commercial cases, I understand local codes and legal hierarchies better than most HOA presidents who think they run their neighborhoods like personal fiefdoms. So, I called a contact of mine at the city's planning office. After I explained the situation, she sighed and said, "We've had issues with that HOA before. Don't worry, we'll reinstall the sign at no cost." By Friday afternoon, the new sign was back up, and this time I made sure every angle of it was covered by my cameras. I even set up a small motion-activated camera hidden inside a decorative birdhouse that my neighbor helped me install. He'd had his own run-ins with Linda and was all too happy to help. Sure enough, Saturday morning rolled around, and at exactly 6 a.m., Linda appeared again, this time in her jogging outfit, holding a cordless reciprocating saw. I watched the live feed on my phone, barely believing what I was seeing. Her face was locked in fierce determination as she pressed the blade against the metal pole, sparks flying. I had already contacted the police non-emergency line the night before to give them a heads up that she might try again. So when I dialed 911 that morning, I made sure to mention my prior report. 2 officers arrived just in time while Linda was still sawing away at the base of the pole. The look on her face when the patrol car pulled up was priceless. Her eyes went wide, and her mouth formed a perfect O of shock. She quickly hid the saw behind her back, as if that would somehow make it invisible. "Ma'am, what are you doing?" one officer asked, though the answer couldn't have been more obvious. "Board inspection," Linda replied instantly, without a shred of hesitation. This sign wasn't approved by the HOA Architectural Committee. She said it with such confidence that, for half a second, I almost doubted myself. I stepped forward with my phone in hand, the screen displaying clear footage of Linda's repeated sabotage and a neatly organized folder of documentation. "Officers," I said steadily, "this is the third time Miss Pearson has vandalized my legally installed disabled parking sign. I have city permits and full approval for this accommodation." The officers listened carefully, taking statements from both of us. Linda, arms crossed and chin lifted, declared in her sharp, authoritative tone that as HOA president, she had the right to remove any unauthorized installations, city permit or not. Officer Rodriguez, the older of the two, looked like he was trying hard not to laugh as he explained, slowly and clearly, that HOA rules did not override city ordinances or federal disability laws. And they certainly didn't allow someone to vandalize city property with power tools. When they informed Linda that she was being cited for vandalism, her face turned beet red. "Do you know who I am?" she snapped, her voice pitching so high it probably made every dog in the neighborhood perk its ears. "My brother-in-law is Deputy Mayor Stevens." "This will not stand." The officers exchanged an unimpressed glance and continued writing the citation, unfazed by her threats. I thought maybe, just maybe, that would finally shut this down. A fine, a warning, maybe a court date. But Linda Pearson wasn't the type to back down. That very afternoon, every homeowner in Sycamore Heights received an emergency HOA bulletin via email. In it, Linda accused me of abusing disability accommodations and implied that I wasn't disabled enough to deserve special parking. She even attached photos of me walking my dog and carrying groceries, as if existing with a disability meant I couldn't live a normal life. That crossed a line I wasn't about to ignore. I contacted my doctor, the city's Disability Resource Center, and a trusted colleague who specialized in discrimination law. With their help, I filed for an emergency injunction and a restraining order against Linda and the HOA board. The case was swiftly assigned to Judge Michaels, a woman well known for her no-nonsense approach to petty neighborhood power trips. 2 weeks later, we faced off in court. Linda entered the courtroom wearing a sharp navy blazer and her signature pearl necklace, walking beside the HOA's attorney with the same smug confidence she'd worn when staring at my security camera. I represented myself. All I brought was a flash drive loaded with everything: video footage, email exchanges, and medical records. Linda's attorney launched into a theatrical speech about HOA authority and neighborhood aesthetics. He painted a picture of a woman bravely defending her community's character, never once addressing the fact that she had repeatedly vandalized city property or harassed a disabled resident. When my turn came, I simply plugged in the flash drive and pressed play. The first clip showed Linda snipping at the sign with garden shears in broad daylight. The second showed her early morning assault with the electric saw, followed by that self-satisfied smile directly into the camera. The third clip displayed her most recent attempt, cordless saw in hand, as officers approached her. Next, I pulled up the email in which she questioned my disability, highlighting the part where she suggested I was committing fraud. Judge Michaels's brow furrowed deeper with every frame. By the time the footage ended, she removed her glasses and fixed Linda with a stare that could freeze fire. "Miss Pearson," she said, her voice low and steady, "are you aware that tampering with a disability accommodation is a civil rights violation? And that publicly questioning the legitimacy of a documented disability borders on defamation?" Linda's attorney opened his mouth to speak, but the judge raised a hand. She wasn't done. "The court grants the restraining order. Ms. Pearson is to remain at least 50 feet from the plaintiff's property at all times. Furthermore, I'm issuing a $5,000 fine for the civil rights violation and referring this case to the district attorney for potential criminal charges related to the repeated vandalism of city property." I glanced over at Linda, expecting rage. Instead, I saw pure shock. Her face had drained of color, her mouth slightly open, and her hand frozen halfway to her attorney's shoulder. For a woman who'd spent years bullying neighbors under the guise of regulations, being on the receiving end of actual legal consequences was a blow she hadn't anticipated. Judge Michaels wasn't finished. "Additionally," she continued, I am ordering Ms. Pearson to step down from her position as Homeowners Association President effective immediately. Her actions demonstrate a fundamental misunderstanding of HOA authority and a troubling pattern of targeted harassment. Linda finally found her voice. "You can't do that!" she shouted, her words echoing off the courtroom walls. "The HOA bylaws don't give you—" "The law gives me that authority, Ms. Pearson," Judge Michaels cut in sharply. "And unlike HOA regulations, my orders are legally binding and enforceable. Court officers, please escort Ms. Pearson out if she continues to disrupt these proceedings." Linda slumped back into her chair, the reality of what just happened crashing down around her. The little empire she'd built on intimidation, control, and petty power, had just crumbled in less than 20 minutes. When the session ended, I walked out into the hallway and caught a glimpse of her staring at her phone, eyes wide as she read the court order that had already been emailed to all parties. For the first time since I'd moved into Sycamore Heights, Linda Pearson was completely speechless.